title search, title insurance, surveys, legal descriptions, marketable title, defects. If your head is spinning, you are not alone. And so you deserve to know what you're signing and what you're buying, so stay tuned for this video. I'm Shauna Norris, broker owner of Venture Group Real Estate in the Ozarks, Neosho, Missouri, and Joplin, Missouri, and I welcome all questions. So if you have questions, put them in the comments below or shoot a text to 417-621-1883. In our Missouri residential sales contract, Section 6 is where title and survey are discussed. And so most often we see C selected, where the buyer's paying for their fees and the seller is paying for their fees. But there's also A, B, C, and D. And in those choices, it could be the buyer paying for all of the closing costs, the seller paying for all the closing costs, or the closing costs split 50-50. For the rest of this video, we're going to pretend that we selected C, which is the buyer paying for their own cost and the seller paying for their own cost. In our office, once we go under contract, we send over the contract to the title company. Then the title company begins their search process. They're going to search the property and also the parties buying and selling the property. There are several things found within a title commitment that should be reviewed by both buyer and seller, but especially the buyer. And that includes legal description, the insured amount, which is often the same as the purchase price, the names of the parties, the signatures needed, the requirements to close, which could be the deed being signed, a note and deed of trust, a payoff, operating agreement, or the exceptions, meaning anything that's not covered by the policy, which could be easements, encroachments, restrictions, or mineral rights, just to name a few. If during that review period the buyer finds something unfavorable, they have that 20 days, so long as C was selected and 20 days is in the contract, to provide notice to the seller. Once the seller receives that notice from the buyer, they have 7 days to correct it at their expense. If they're not going to correct it, they let the buyer know, and then the buyer, unless stated otherwise, has 3 additional days to say, I'm going to go ahead and move forward on the closing or back out and get their earnest money back. To put it simply, title insurance helps protect you from loss in the event there's a defect on the property. So let's get down to brass tacks. You are buying a property on a legal description, not an address. And so the best way to know that your legal description is what you think you're buying is to have a survey. So I have 3 tips to leave you with. The first one being, when you are choosing an agent to work with, quiz them about title searches. Ask them all the questions, because after all, that is the outline of what you are buying. 2, ask questions. Lots and lots of questions. I know you've heard it said, but there is no silly question. And 3, read your title commitment. Read it from start to finish, and if you don't understand it, ask your agent, ask an attorney, ask the title company, ask your lender. Gather information, as much information as possible, to make you comfortable with this purchase or with this sale. And so, as always, I hope I've left you with something that's even a little bit helpful. And if so, if you could help me out by hitting the subscribe button below, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.